players in that regard. What else you lot saying? Bro, the 30 million is calm. Would you take Madison DG for the 8-row over Telemans if possible? I do think he could play that. I don't know about over Telemans, but you know what? I'm a big fan of Madison. I'm a fan of Telemans. I'll flip a coin, probably. But I'm happy with Telemans. Either one, man. But I think Madison can play a bunch of roles. He can play on that wide left, can play as an 8, can play as a 10. Yeah, man. But it's not even, it's what you can hustle. And to be fair to you, when you see Maguire going for 80, are they wrong to ask for 80 for Tammy? There's finesses to be done out here. Slightly Atletico finessed themselves a couple times as well. They don't want the player to go. So I hear it, even though I agree, my guy, they're smoking something special, but they don't want to sell, man. So you got to make it worth their while if you want them to go in it. Really? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Madison, Yuri. Still don't think either. It's not that they don't transform the midfield. It just feels like there's a lot more to come. I want to see these Gabriel Jesus rumors, people. So let's see this. Let's read this with me, people. Should Manchester City keep Gabriel Jesus or not? He scored 4 goals against Watford on Saturday, and within an hour, he was in the same conversation as decertified players. It's not a bad afternoon then, especially as news came to light on Friday that Arsenal are interested in signing him this summer. Gabriel's stock has not been this high since he arrived in January 2017, and he did at a point have a gear out the side. And yet the intervening 5 years have not followed the same trajectory, and it would not be a City season without a debate whether Jesus was good enough for the team or not. Generally, if you're still asking this question of a player after 5 years, there's still a chance you've already answered your question. I mean, when you look at certain players among the Arsenal squad, you could say the same as well, depending on the time. So should City keep him or not? It's surely a no-brainer to keep someone capable of sitting on the bench for long spells, but with the ability to come in with big games and make a contribution. How many players could not start in the Premier League for 3 months and then be thrown in for a huge game against Liverpool? Hey, El Nene, Cedric, hey, I'm playing people. Before going down that route, however, the obvious thing to consider is what the 25-year-old wants. Obviously, one of the key factors regarding his future, aside from the fact he is out of contract in 2023, is that this is a World Cup year in which players will want to be playing regular enough to be in Brazil squad. It will have helped his cause that he scored his goals and assist the others, as well as winning his own penalty in front of the Brazil's assistant manager and other staff at the Etihad Stadium. Of course, if he were to keep this up at City, then he would surely be back in with his compatriots sooner rather than later. And I mean, Martinelli's there, Gabriel, the centre-back was there. You could get there, man. But that would have to be regarded as unlikely. Incident, I can't lie, a bit like Chelsea this year. Is it just me? And actually 2023, is it just me or City uncharacteristically? There's a lot of players that are running, their deals are running out. You've got Gundogan, you've got Sterling, you've got Mahrez, you've got Jesus, you probably got a couple of other Dons people. Incidentally, that may be the case for Gundogan, whose contract also expires next summer. He's been ready to call time on his Germany career, but after talks with Hansi Flick last summer, he is hopeful of a World Cup place, but feels a more settled position at City would help his cause. That's another situation to keep an eye on. As for Jesus, Arsenal have been in talks with his reps for a while. He is focused on what is a crunch time of the season for himself and City, but given his contract situation and his playing time for club and country, it's no surprise that his agent has been given permission to see what opportunities are out there. And it's no surprise that City would allow it to happen. Not just because it's their last chance to receive a transfer fee if he decides to move on. In fact, it's no surprise his contract only has 1 year left to run. This is the 4th season in a row that Manchester City have been open to him leaving. So they've tried to sell him for 4 seasons or been open. They may not have been desperate to offload him because they know that he's a very good option. But if a club were to come like João Felix or Kane in recent summers, then they would have allowed it to happen. Now it's Haaland, of course. And I mean, I do think Pep Guardiola does that thing Arteta does. When they gas it too much, they're not involved. Pep Guardiola has been saying recently that the hardest part of his job is leaving good players out of his team. And Jesus is certainly one of those ready people, In fact, does this sound any dissimilar from Mikel Arteta about Eddie Nketiah and to a degree Nicolas Pepe? If there's one player in the world who deserves nights like that, it's him. I don't think there would be one person who knows him would not be happy for him. When you behave always in a positive way, life and football rewards you with what you deserve. Not too dissimilar from what you've heard in the last few days about, Eddie Nketiah. It's my fault. I should have played him more. Good things happen to good people. Said the same with El Nene. I'm not begrudging the man for leaving them out because they're not the strongest options in whatever you lot are trying to do, and you don't deem them to. But they're just saying quite stuff. They like you as part of the squad. You're just not the guys like that. And Pep said, listen, I know you put these questions. I know what you're talking about. What we have done this season and what we have done with Gabriel. Gabriel is one of the best. But every player is happy when they play all the time for 90 minutes every game. Maybe at the end of the season, he says, no, I don't want to sign a contract, or we convince him to stay. Maybe he decides, I want more minutes. I want to leave. Nobody knows. Now I don't care. I want. We have less than 1 month. That's all. No one knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows. That's why it's not a big problem. And it's not the time to speculate. But if we speculate, he hasn't actually said, I want to keep him. I want him to get a new deal. He actually hasn't said that. Again, when you don't say things, it leaves it to interpretation. So you have to be very careful with the terminology. This kind of reflects what we've heard in this article, that they're open to letting him go. They're open to keeping him. Obviously, Edu played it down. Everyone's gonna be playing it down, people. So yeah, man, maybe there's something there. There's been flashes. Apparently Guardiola realized a few seasons, and he would have to learn this killer instinct. Guardiola realized a few years up about the missed chances too much, for example. But there are so many things that the boss genuinely appreciates. Always he is there. Gabriel has this incredible ability because he's always thinking what is the best for the team. He doesn't get the ball and he still makes 1,000 million movements for the other ones. And personally, when he has nights like this, I'm the happiest man in the world because always he's been there. If he doesn't play, he's there training the next day like it's his last day. That's why he will have a long career. He will have a successful career because of the incredible positivity in his mind, and he thinks for the team. When that happens, good things are going to happen in his life, that's for sure. And they're looking to bring in Haaland. They've already brought in Julian Alvarez. Let's get Osimhen, Jesus, and with Martinelli in the Haaland boys, it's all good. Roma have put them in a position Arsenal never have put themselves in an asset which teams want, who is under a long-term deal. Madison brings some free kick dangers too. Crazy. No, there's an avenue to bring in that and let them do that, but I don't need any more creativity from Partey and Xhaka per se. I need someone that's your job, to break down low blocks, to cut open the lines. You get someone who can do the Santi thing, you see a better Martin Odegaard, a better Saka, half the team will improve. But again, signing players is one thing. As much as I believe that it would help us, the coaching isn't as clear cut to suggest you get an 8 that's able to do that, or a striker. We're necessarily going to create a bag of chances. So I don't know. But yeah, that was the first article. How long is this one as well? Because the jargon kills me, man. But what one is this? This is from last summer. It might finally be time to regard Gabriel Jesus as a winger once and for all. And I think this is interesting. His days look numbered, He said, I had a feeling. I spoke with Gabriel and he likes to play sometimes more in wider positions than the central one. And Varane has a big sense for goal. I would say a little bit higher than Gabriel when he plays in central positions. So maybe this is why Arteta wants him. Maybe Gabriel's more of a Pepe replacement, really and truly. Torres' movements are more towards the goal. Gabriel comes more to associate, link up, to drop a little deep. And Varane makes more movements more to the goal. With our lack of goals lately, we need a guy who can make the movements there. Boy. And that's the point. You saw Torres doing false 9 before Gabriel looked like he was really given a chance. It must be said that Jesus playing well in a home game against Norwich is not an unusual turn of events, and he may have just played well off the left or through the middle. He's had many good games over the years and has scored, this is at the time, 82 goals in 197 games for City. But there's always been a feeling that it's not enough and that he really needs to deliver consistently. Some players, when they get the ball in wider positions, their body shape is more open and they have more time to make the right decision, said Pep. When you play central, you sense how difficult it is to play football. When you receive the ball, there are more bodies and it's more difficult to get good balls playing central. Gabriel's a little bit better playing a little bit wider. He was injured most of the time, so we had to use Gabriel. We did not have many alternatives in that position, and we are lucky that Varane played there last season in that position. So yeah, man, Gabriel. I mean, Guardiola gave up on him through the middle a long time ago, per se, innit? Really, we're almost at 200 likes. Keep running that up, people. Apart from the four defenders and Rodri, Jesus had more touches than any of his teammates. Well, this is irrelevant. So yeah, this is the heat map. So it's almost not identical to Lacazette. And this is the lovely run. He made a lovely run from out to in against Liverpool like this. This is why I'm all for it. But he's probably more of the Pepe replacement. He's probably someone that can put more pressure on Saka's spot, rotate in and out with Saka as well. You know, I think he's more like that, really. So yeah, you can see the runs he's making. So maybe it is time to accept. And at 25, are you a winger able to play up front? Are you a forward able to play out wide? Can you get more goals? Can you get more assists? Can you become more important? I'm having him. 30 million quid. We could do a lot worse. We could do a lot better. And he has played he's played a lot of people before Jesus there. So he's probably not 100% convinced. Is Gabriel Jesus good enough? This was in January last year. The Gabriel conundrum goes on, or perhaps we have had our answer. Anyone expected him to be the next Sergio Aguero is likely to be disappointed. His winner, this was at the time as well, people. His winner against Sheffield United was his first strike of the season and his first since he scored against Liverpool nearly 3 months ago, which was the last time when City conceded. And I mean, to be fair, if you get a proper number 9 with movement, Gab Jesus, Saka, you get a number 8 and we coach better movement and link up playing things, then we want Gabriel to become that goal scorer. And a lot of what we've read, we don't want that to be a thing, but the burden can be shifted. As long as we're not looking at this moment in time as Gabriel just to be that number 9 to replace Aubameyang specifically for goals, then I think we'll be all right. There is some important context. It's readily acknowledged by now that City were not playing their best football earlier this season, blah, blah, blah. Jesus got COVID. When was that? So yeah, it doesn't seem like this. He only had 2 opted to find big chances in the Premier League before Saturday, but he did miss them both. There are times this season when inviting crosses went into the box and Jesus was nowhere to be seen. The most notable may have been at Old Trafford. So maybe he's a bit like Lacazette in that, you know, it's not that he doesn't want to score goals, because in the second half against Liverpool, he wasn't trying to pass, but he's doing everything other than necessarily getting balls into the box. And maybe this is where getting into the box and scoring, maybe this is where Arteta can teach him, really. So yeah, man. The graphic below shows shots and chances that Jesus has had. The red circles are goals, and the bigger the circle, the higher the value of expected goals, which measures the quality of chance. So he's only really had 3 real quality chances, really. He's not really someone that's interested in stuff. What one's this? Okay. And last season, see, he's having better chances in the area and that. Crazy. And I mean, fuck all of this. But yeah, man. Big up Aaron Ramsdale, that you lot could be former teammates. A bit more context. Jesus' preferred position is starting on the wing, either the left or the right. Over the course of his career, he's been used more and more as a striker, but he has said in a couple of interviews that he prefers playing out wide, and those close to him say that this is still the case. So yeah, that's your Pepe replacement more so, you know. You've got him, you've got Martinelli with the ability to do the hybrid thing of all across all front 3 positions. Why not, man? So yeah, I would want him to score more goals regardless, because you're going to get plenty of chances to score whether you're left wing, right wing, or whatever. So yeah, man. It's over a year since he said that sometimes he wants to shoot myself in the head when he misses, and that he puts pressure on himself to score 1 versus 1s. He works incredibly hard to be as good as he can be. Why not, man? Sources say Jesus still does not cut himself any more slack. Maybe with 2 latest goals in the he's onto him. Crazy, man. So this was at the time, people, where again it's reiterating that Haaland, João Felix, you know, Guardiola tried to upgrade. Crazy stuff, man. The difference between Jesus and players like Eto'o or Joe Hart, who moved on after Guardiola cited his smell, is that the Brazilian contributes to the team in a way that Guardiola genuinely appreciates. It's not just the pressing and off the ball movements that were perhaps most notable in both games against Real Madrid last season, but also his selfless ability to play a game knowing full well he will not get many chances. And that's good, you know. Last season, at the time this was said, was his best goal scoring campaign of Jesus' career, yet he missed 24 of his 34 big chances, which is the most in the league, and made for the second worst big chance conversion rate of any player to have scored more than 10 goals. But of course, he did score more than 10 goals, which many of those with a better ratio did not manage. He scored 14 in the league, 6 in the Champions League, 1 in the League Cup, and 2 in the FA Cup for a total of 23, which is pretty good, especially as he was 22 years of age at the time. And the season was paused in March. Now, again, important to read, people. This was an article from last year, but I just thought this was a good way to kind of just read deeper and deeper into this Gabriel Jesus links, in which I think it's more of a Pepe replacement thing. And when you look at the Cody Gakpo links, there's that as well. But yeah, I think he replaces Pepe, not Lacazette, really, just based on what I've read there. So yeah, man, what did you lot make of that, man? That was quite an interesting one. I feel 185 likes. Can we keep moving, people? Arteta has worked closely with Gabriel Jesus too, so he can make him flourish a lot. Jesus is a good player. He can play different roles, and he has a great attitude. You never hear him complain about game time. It's true, but jack of all trades, master of none. That's where I think we might be. You know, I think when you look through the Arsenal squad, there's a lot of. I think I know where people end up, but you know, there's a lot of refining. You know, Martinelli, are you a striker or are you a winger? Either way, you've got to be able to play in all those roles, and you've got to define: am I a forward able to play up front? Martinelli probably tell you I'm a left winger. Arteta says he's a striker, but it's neither here nor there. What are you? You know, Saka's a left and right winger, able to play fullback if needed. He's probably the only one you can sit there and say. Smith Rowe's a 10 for me. I think he can play 8, but as I said previously, I see him. Listen, keep trying to be like Kevin De Bruyne, as he says, but I see you more as a Grealish thing. Like, you can play as a 10, you can play in a midfield 3, you could long-term play as an 8, even though I don't think you're disciplined enough. You can play out wide. Martin Odegaard's done the similar sort of thing. I think he's a 10, but I do think in a different way, I think he could be a bit like Santi Cazorla for us in that sort of pivot. But again, he's 23. He's still defining himself, really. And there's several others, really. So it's not much different. But there's a lot of projects, man. You know, you can't, you know, you have to, if you're a little kid, you know, you can't do 10 puzzles at once if these players are puzzles, because we all have to help them develop. You need to finish one puzzle, then go to a next one, you know. And I know there's coaching staff and things, and you're seeing with the earpod Donny and the set piece Donny, we're doing things, but how much can everybody? We've all got, all these players are project dons. Everyone at this club, because of what we're doing, is a project don. Even the more experienced players are not finished articles. And I would say the more experienced young players, Ramsdale, Odegaard, these sort of guys, White to a degree, Tommy Ashley to a degree, nobody's finished it. We ain't signed no Van Dijk or no Alisson, or you get it, none of these Shevchenko when Chelsea made him shit. We ain't signed none of them. So how much of these can we work with, really? But I'm having Jesus if he still wants to, if he really does want to arrive at the Emirates for whatever reason. Still want Hour as well. Ward Prowse would be a cold signing, but it's going to be the tax. Good article. DG, being Brazilian bias, would you take Jesus over Gnabry? Gnabry, come home, Gnabry. Good morning, DG. They said 2 marquee signings: sell Pepe and get a big baller to light up the Emirates like Luis Diaz. Trust. I wish we had a, not like when we signed Alexis Sanchez. I want someone like that, man. But it's a madness. Good insight, fam. Appreciate that, my guy. Very sensible signing. This article helps in explaining why we are going for 2 strikers and not just Jesus. If we get Champions League football, it's going to be extremely useful to have players that can play in multiple positions for position's sake. I hear you, but I just think in this day and age, a lot of men can play a lot of positions, but what are they? You know, and I think this is a conversation more so for, you know, off the top of my head, Gabriel Jesus, Martial, Marcus Rashford, to a slight degree, Kylian Mbappe. Are you a striker? Are you a winger? Like, yeah, you can play everywhere, but, and there's many others, but what are you? Now, Gnabry can play left wing, right wing, up front, etc. Kingsley Coleman the same. There's bare other names as well. We'll be here all day. But a lot of them, Martinelli, are you a striker that can play up front? Are you a winger that can play up front? Are you a winger, that can play up front? Are you a striker that can play out wide? Or are you a bit of everything? You know, there might, couple of these players, there'll be 5 games, they'll play left or right wing, or they're wingers. Then they get an opportunity up front. They're strikers. Then they have shaky games. Nah, he's not a winger. Nah, he's not a striker. And a lot of people go through this consistently. I think there needs to be some refining. What's your job first, and what's the extras you're coming with? And I think that's a byproduct of the game because we've gone into a mad world. Listen, the game's advancing, but we're in a world where I think people forget about the basics. I'm seeing centre backs that can't defend, but because they can pass with balls, pass the ball, pause, that they're getting away with stuff. No matter how much the game advances, a defender's gonna have to defend. I'm seeing goalies that can pick out passes. You still got to be able to catch. You still got to be able to collect crosses. You know, you can be a striker, and I think strikers are unfair because I think if you do the general plating and you don't score, man, are onto you. Like Jesus, like Lacazette, like Firmino would be if he weren't at Liverpool. But same way, and of course, these players have their own problems. You need to be able to offer stuff when you're not scoring. Aubameyang was scoring bare goals, man. We're onto him. Lukaku, bit different, but scores goals. Not really now because he's not playing against Pablo Mari. But Dons are onto him. So it's a bit of a mad. I feel we're in a mad world, anyways, and we're getting into a madder world, especially when you got certain German managers talking about defenders need Bluetooth headsets and that to communicate. Crazy world that we're stepping into, this football thing, man. It's a crazy, crazy place, man. But I think that was a good article still, for what it's worth. Don't forget, as I keep saying, people, hit the like button for Man City versus Real Madrid. Every like boosts the engagement levels. If you're not following on Twitch, make sure you are. This will be across Twitch and YouTube. And that goes for tomorrow as well. Villarreal, Liverpool, Villarreal, better yet as well, folks. Content, and more content. Appreciative to all your comments coming, people. Me spin the block once again and see if there's any Arsenal transfers. Where's the Darwin Nunez hype, man? It seems to have been gone. It was here for a sec. Oh shit, someone must have heard me still. Pardon me. Apparently, Alex Song has won the 21-22 Djibouti League title with his current team. Fair enough. Never knew this, but fair enough. I said Darwin Nunez. This probably clickbait. Let's see what Mr. Ollie Dawes is saying. Pep Guardiola's plan over £109 million striker become clear after Arsenal held talks. Arsenal may still have a chance of signing Benfica striker Darwin Nunez, with Manchester City not planning to make a bid. And obviously in March, we heard Edu had chatted to the agent of Darwin Nunez, just like Jonathan David, just like Tellerman, just like Gabriel Jesus. It's nice that man are talking. Let's get people in the club. We all know Darwin Nunez scores goals, 33 goals in 39 at the time of seeing this article is crazy. Apparently, you know, they're demanding 109 million, which is substantially more than what Newcastle and West Ham bidded. But yeah, I think this is just 2 and 2 and getting 5, really. I think this article is just leveraging Arsenal's interest, along with, you heard he's actually agreed to move to Liverpool. It's just leveraging clubs' interest and getting 2 and 2 and getting $1 million. It doesn't really go into depth to say Arsenal are still on to him. It just literally saying City have decided not to make a bid. Where, forgive me if I'm wrong, I've only seen João Felix, Haaland, and it's old, but Harry Kane to City. So I don't know what to make of that, people. The experience has to be applied right, and it all depends. There's many different ways to get experience, because you could be you could be 19 and be experienced. I would define Odegaard as an experienced player, Ramsdale as an experienced player to a degree. Ben White, even though he's only played, this is his second year in the Prem, and it's relative experience. Obviously, I do think we need experience, and it's the right experience. And you're probably saying the same thing, but we're just making it clear, because if experience was everything, then we could necessarily rely on Lacazette. We could rely on Cedric. We could rely on Pablo Mari. We could have relied on David Luiz. We could have relied on William. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. Do you really trust Arteta to develop these project players, DG? I do, but at the same time, I care about the collective. If I'm a manager, of course you need to work with these players, and if not, delegate to other coaches. But then again, all that matters is Arsenal, the collective. Everyone, all the other things, this guy developing, that guy doing well, all these things, that's all superficial. All that matters is Arsenal getting back into Europe, doing other things. The collective has to take precedent over the individuals. You know, if I'm training in a week, you know, I can delegate the coaching staff to work with these players. But then again, if I delegate these coaching stuff, I say, boom, all right, spend the hour with Saka. Spend the hour with Martinelli. How much that hour is taken away from other project dons like Lokonga or whatever. And if I delegate all my coaching team to that, I might not have anyone to deal with what I want collectively, whether that's set pieces or whatever. Or I might say, you run the coaching stuff. I'm going to take Joe Bloggs and work with him. That's going to take time away from it. And you need to be able to do that. And you have to be able to do that. But you know. And obviously, I'll be real, the players have got to improve themselves as well. You can see Saka and Smith Rowe, Arteta has said to them goals and assists, but you can see the way they're moving, the way they speak, the way it might be propaganda, but even the papers are saying, you know, Saka and Smith Rowe, or both of them or one of them, they spent an hour picking the brains of Bergkamp and Henry, and you know, you've got to want to take it on yourself. You know, even that Alanga brother at United, poor example. I think he's meaty, but the way he speaks and the way he talks about, I was watching videos for this and that, the keeper, you can tell that someone proactive. I look at someone like Rashford. I'm not saying you're not trying to improve, but I've never got that vibe. So you need to, you know, do it yourself. As much as it's on Arteta, look at Tavares. You know, you was good against United going forward. You were shaky defensively. You can go over your United at home game, Crystal Palace away, Nottingham Forest away, Anfield away, Selhurst Park away. You could go and look at all them games to learn for yourself. My man Lokonga, you are young, but you can look at Crystal Palace at home. You can look at Brighton away. You can look at several games to know what you need to do better. And that goes for a lot of players. It's not just them. So to a degree, I think the players have got to want to do it themselves as well. You can't always have certain things, and you do see at certain scenarios, certain players have a lot of different coaches, and it's still the same thing going on. So yeah, it's one of them ones, man. If I'm honest, good question. Let's make that in the time. So do you trust Arteta to develop? I do, but at the same time, because I think he's done it with Smith Rowe, I think he's done it with Saka currently, and we have to see. I think he's doing it with Martinelli. I think he's doing it with the young centre backs, even though that one there ain't really being shown. I think he's really doing it with Martin Odegaard, which again, there's a certain base level. Do I think he's quite doing the Arsene Wenger thing where you're taking Lauren, who was a centre mid, and making him a competent right back? It's not a that thing, clearly. Like Arteta strikes me as a guy, because of the City thing, you need to have a certain level of ability or something. Like if it was like if you was at Oxford, he could teach people that are clearly listen. If you don't go Oxford or Cambridge, it don't mean you're not smart, but them men are smart. That's why they're there. Then I think he could teach them things that because you've got a grounding and a foundation, he could whatever. If you take me that ain't in Oxford, he can't teach me certain things. I think you need to be of a certain sort of ilk and certain things for him to work with. I even think that to a degree with Pep, really. Yeah, I do, but I just think you can't have everything in it. You know, you can't have everything. You can't develop all these players, get 3 points, everybody get game time. It's a fallacy. Like it's a fallacy. Fans will not care about it. I know fans are buying what we're doing with the young squad, but they will not care about young squads learning and things when Tavares and these guys are making mistakes and top fours bottled. You know, they won't. It's superficial, really and truly. As much as fans say it, you know, because fans show it all. I'm being honest, they show their asses pause every time on my YouTube streams because they talk about these young players. They gas them up. Even Balogun, gas up Balogun. Lo and behold, he's out of his depth because he ain't played the senior games. They're the first ones to call man overrated. They did it with Nelson. I was watching the Hoffenheim loan. I'm like, he's not gonna come back and be too lit, you know. Yeah, he's lit, because they were just spreeing the goals. Sometimes he would score and be shit. Sometimes he didn't score and he'd do a madness. People don't really care about youth talent and what they don't really care to understand what really goes in the finer intricacies, and they really understate it, how fucking hard it is. Like as much as we criticize these young players, I don't think any of these players I've said don't want to improve. I don't think any of them want to make mistakes. The thing is just hard. Everybody, and I think one thing, if people use themselves as an examples, they'd be a bit more sympathetic. Everyone talks about installing discipline and stuff, but I think if everyone looked in their personal life, I think there's vices or improvements you said you make or you haven't made, or things in your professional life that you haven't developed in, or certain vices that you haven't. People want Tavares to stop losing the ball in the final third, but they don't want to stop smoking and things like that. So you're not asking the same discipline or improved discipline you're asking. You can't. It's a bit mad. It's a bit mad. If everyone held themselves to the same standards they claim with everyone, the world would be a very better place, in my humble opinion.